Holy moly, guys. I just got my mind blown by Jared Goetz, inside the mind of Jared, of a super successful e-com entrepreneur. Stay tuned. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Coach U Show. Today we have a very special guest who is an e-com super success story. He's going to share how he was able to grow his e-com empire and help other people be able to grow. He's the CEO of Zendrop. He has his own podcast, The Modern Soul, where he brings the knowledge of the best minds to the world, to the everyday listener. And he's gone from already being very successful to now helping other people be able to do this through the route of fulfillment, through the inner game and spirituality. We have Jared Goetz. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for pronouncing my last name correctly.
What do people say when they try to pronounce your name?
Goetz. Those are the two main ones.
Goetz.
Yeah, Goetz a lot, which is honestly, with the
you are the goats of drop shipping.
Being the goat is not a bad thing anymore. When I was a kid, it wasn't a good thing, but these days being the goat is a cool thing. So I don't mind that one.
So guys, if you don't know Jared, he was introduced by my friend Jeremy, who I trust very deeply, and he only brings forward people who are successful entrepreneurs that have step-by-step tactics that they can teach from their direct example, and those that are mission-centered entrepreneurs. So Jared and I share a lot in common because we both want to create lots of other successful entrepreneurs because we ourselves walk that path first. So Jared, what was it like starting Zendrop? And before that, it was called Silk Road, right?
Yeah, we basically I got into like the e-commerce world kind of randomly. I was working at Yik Yak as one of the first employees there.
Okay. Yeah.
And while I was there, I saw the company grow really fast, and I was actually like running the marketing. So I did all the campus tours, sponsoring like spring break, traveling around the world, growing the app. And I started kind of understanding marketing. And I was fortunate to get my hands on a hoverboard, which were like super, but it was before anyone had ever seen one. Yeah. So I was like riding this hoverboard around, and everyone was like, "Where did you get that thing? How much was it?" And the answer was like, "I don't know where you can get it, and I don't know how much it was. It came straight from China." And then I was like, I should start selling these. So I found a supplier in China that can drop ship them. Created my first Shopify website, literally rode it around like malls and like, outdoor spaces, and was just handing out business cards to everyone that asked me about them. And I started selling a bunch of hoverboards, and I started realizing that you can sell a lot of products online. So, we went to influencers. We got a bunch of, kids with like 5-10 million followers to promote our brand. We built a big brand. Unfortunately, we didn't have a patent on the hoverboard, and it wasn't really a long-lived thing, but it basically was like the moment where I realized, okay, I made 5 times my yearly salary last month, so I should leave my job.
Yeah.
And so I went out to China. Actually, I left my job, went out to China. I went to the Canton Fair, and I was like, let's find some more viral products to sell. Like, hoverboards were great. So I came across a bunch of stuff. I started bringing in containers to the US, selling to retail, selling at trade shows, selling on Amazon, on Shopify, across the board. And about 6 years ago, maybe a couple years into my journey, I was finishing up a trade show. I was in Dallas, and I was like 3 days into the trade show. I was talking to people all day. I was exhausted. I was about to go to sleep. I had a flight the next morning at 7 a.m. And I got an email on my phone, and it said, how to sell products without ever seeing or touching them. And I was like, should I go to sleep? But I'm really curious. So I opened the email, and I watched a webinar, a training, and it talked about drop shipping. And I was like, that seems too good to be true. You could just find products on AliExpress, list them on your Shopify store, run ads, and then just get them shipped out. So I got so excited. I went to the airport the next morning at like 5 a.m. I had an hour to work on a website. I spun up a quick Shopify store. I started running ads, and that store scaled from $0 to $2 million in 60 days since I launched it. So went through a lot. Yeah, it ended up.
2 million sales. How much of that was profit?
I was doing like literally probably like 20 to 25K a day in profit. So it was like a 40-50% profit margin, because I got really lucky with my Facebook ads first time around. I think I figured out like a hack in the algorithm. I was duplicating ads and spending a lot of money, but I ran into an issue like maybe 3 months down the road, my store was doing like 50K a day consistently. And my supplier in China started sending out fake tracking numbers. So I would collect the money from the customer. I would send the money to the supplier. He would pretend to ship the product out, but really just send a fake tracking number. And he sent me 7,000 fake tracking numbers. And I had nothing I could do about it because he was in China and I was in the US. So that was the moment when I was like, there needs to be a better supply chain for people that want to drop ship, that don't run into issues like this. And that was kind of what sparked Zendrop. But I got into teaching other people. I built a course. It was called Ecom Hacks. We had about 10,000 students. And when we had built the community of people, I was like, okay, cool. If we build a supply chain, then we have the community to serve. So we started building Zendrop back in 2019, or we launched it back in 2019. And it's been a really fun ride ever since.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm looking at your SEO stats, and it looks like you have most of your growth in like May, June, and July of each year, at least in 2020 and 2021. What's behind that of people that are starting up their stores on Zendrop?
May, June, and July. That's a good question. We actually didn't get into our like marketing phase up, and like we've been working on building the platform, getting US suppliers, integrating with all the CRMs for like the last 2.5 years. And we just took on a CMO like maybe 2 months ago to get behind our SEO and look into everything. So we haven't really focused much on that stuff yet.
I've been friends with Bob for 10 years.
Oh, you know Bob?
Yeah, ask him about me.
I didn't know that.
A small world.
Funny. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I don't know what sparks that growth in those months, actually.
You know what your top 10 keywords are?
No.
Organic. I ran a report on SEMrush. I always do this. This is like cheating. It's like spying on people.
Yeah.
And of course, you rank number 1 on Zendrop, which is your name, but you also rank number 4 now on Silk Road Dropshipping and Silk Road Dropship and Dr. Teal's Sleep Spray. You're number 19. It's 5 a.m. somewhere. You rank number 11. And Florian Hartfelder, number 3, and the other sorts of people I think that are on your podcast and whatnot. You're there.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Dr. Teal's, what a random one.
Shipping time Shopify. So clearly that's something that you guys, with AliExpress and other folks, you take the headache out of drop shipping. You're ranking there. Does AliExpress do private labeling? Well, so Google thinks that you should rank there too. Trending products for drop shipping. You're ranking there as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. Auto ordering, drop shipping, your name. It's funny because your domain, Zendrop ranks number 88 for Jared Goetz as opposed to your name. But all the stuff around drop shipping, you're doing, well, most of these are in position 30 to 100. So you know how to hide a dead body, Jared?
How do you put it on page 100?
On the second page of Google.
Right. So none of those are on the first page.
Yeah. So what this is telling me, just doing a quick analysis, because I always look up our guests beforehand, make sure that they're awesome. You have there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs that need to know about you guys, but you need to get, thank goodness you have Bob here. You just got to get the word out. You have an awareness issue. Because what Google's saying is that people who are using Zendrop have a good experience, and that's causing this word of mouth effect. So it's kind of your marketing because you've been building a better product. So imagine if you did, in the same way you did Facebook ads to sell, hoverboards, if you did $1 a day to help other entrepreneurs realize, hey, you know what? You actually could succeed in drop shipping. It's not too late. It's still okay to run Facebook ads. You can now run TikTok ads, right?
Right.
Because other people, I know a lot of folks, just like in the program I was showing you that we're doing with Jake Paul, where you have these kids that say, I want to be a drop shipper too, or I want to sell, branded t-shirts. And they don't really have the kind of education like the program that you have, and these kinds of tools and platforms like you have didn't really exist. So they think they've missed the boat, right?
Right.
And I'd love for people to realize it's not too late. They can look at your example. It's fine. You did something 6 years ago. It's still possible today.
People have been telling me that drop shipping is dead since I started back in like 2013. So I've been hearing that every year since, and it's far from dead. I mean, we still have clients that are doing, $5, $6, $7 million a year in orders on their drop shipping stores.
But what about a stay-at-home mom where they're not going to be as crazy and as awesome as you are, and they look at you making, 20 grand of profit a day and think that is just unattainable? What about if I can just make a couple $1,000s a month and be able to pay for my own apartment instead of living in my parents' basement?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all just a game of outperforming what you believe to be true. a lot of people, they might see me doing 20, 25 grand a day in profit. And they say, oh, I know it's possible for him, but it's not possible for me. But
Right.
that means they know it's possible, but they need to prove it to themselves. So the key is just get started. There's unlimited knowledge out there. There's unlimited resources. The people that succeed are the ones that keep trying different things. So I think it's just a matter of getting that first sale, getting that first day where you do 50 sales. Now you're never going to turn back. You do a day with 50 sales, you're never going to go back to your 9-to-5 job if you're making more money doing it. Like, it's just a matter of consistently outperforming what you believe to be true.
But to even get to that point of 50 sales a day, right? I see a lot of people, they get stuck on, all right, they come to Zendrop and you have 200,000 products from AliExpress. How do you even decide, what do you want to do if the product's not there? There's so much to get from 0 to 1. It's such a cliff.
It is. It could be, first of all, there's tons of unlimited free knowledge that you can go on YouTube. You can learn how to build a store. We have an e-commerce certification program that we just launched about a month ago. That's a series of 10 live calls with experts. It takes place in 4 weeks. You get a private group where you can ask questions, and we take you through the process of how do you build a store? How do you find products? How do you start running ads? How do you set up your infrastructure so you don't have to work so much, with your customer support, your VAs, fulfillment. So, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of figure out how to get from right off, to get off the ground.
Yeah. So definitely the knowledge is out there. Definitely you are a living, breathing example along the other people, who are in your program. But what if I'm an 18-year-old young adult and I'm thinking, yes, I know there's people out there. I know that the knowledge is there because YouTube is infinite and whatnot, but will I succeed? And do I have what it takes? And I see the steps. Yeah, choose a product, set up the store, make Facebook ads, all that. But can I succeed? Like, what's the probability I'm going to fail? Because I'm so afraid of failing.
Yeah, well, the one thing that separates the people that succeed and the ones that fail is their mindset. We had, before creating Zendrop, we had a program called Ecom Hacks where we had students. I did group coaching where I'd get on a Zoom call every week. There was about 500 people in that program, and about 20% of those people actually created successful businesses. 80% didn't. And right when someone joined the group coaching program, I would be able to tell if this person was going to succeed or not. And the simple thing was, what was their attitude like? Did they come in excited, or did they come in skeptical? Did they have high energy, or did they have low energy? Were they looking at problems, or were they figuring out solutions? So really, to be able to say if you're going to succeed or not, in my opinion, it comes down to personal development. And I saw it across the board with hundreds of people. I would have someone that would come in who would be a computer science major that was really technical and really savvy and understood everything about dropshipping, but he was skeptical. He joined the program. He's like, I'm going to join this, but I don't know if it's possible, And then I would get someone, a 60-year-old woman that was happy. She was like, I can't wait to do this.
Yeah.
And she had no background, barely knew how to use a computer or use Shopify. And this is actually true. This 60-year-old woman in our program literally has done millions of dollars in sales. And I've had those other types of people not get off the ground and message me a year later asking why, so it comes down to the attitude and personal development.
What about people who don't have much time and they don't have much money? They're already working some other job. They're, doing Uber on the side. They can't invest several $1,000s to do things the right way.
Yeah. Well, it depends how bad you want it. Like when I was at Yik Yak and I was selling hoverboards, I was working a full-time job, actually more than a full-time job, because it was a startup. I was probably working 60 or 70 hours a week for Yik Yak. Yeah. But I'd find time from 9 o'clock at night to midnight to work on my business. I'd find time in the morning. I'd get up early. I'd go to the gym. I'd visualize what I want. It's like when people don't have enough time, often they're spending all of their time in a reactionary mode. They're reacting to what's going on. They're on social media. They're driving to work, listening to music, getting home, watching the news, and they're not scheduling any proactive time. You're wasting time, but it's
hours of it, yeah.
If you could put you don't have to put that much time into something. You have to put more time into your vision. And I'm a big believer that if you can get yourself in a high energy state, whether you're working out or you're meditating, and you could hone in on your vision of what you want every day, then the thoughts you need to get there, they come to you. But so many people are focused on, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And what does that do? That makes you think about like why you don't have what you don't have. So you're attracting more of that. So focus more on, who do I need to be? What's my vision? Who do I need to be that person? And then the path kind of opens itself. I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of younger entrepreneurs that are just getting started.
But what if they don't have the kind of mindset you have, and they've had a series of small failures? They've taken some courses, they didn't follow through, they have a negative attitude. And of course you can say, yeah, you need to have the right attitude and mindset, but it's harder to do than say.
Well, it all comes from discipline, right? It's like, well, first you got to implement certain habits. You don't want to start at 0 and try to jump right into 10. So you don't want to like, okay, my personal development level is really low. I'm going to jump right into waking up at 5 a.m. every day, working out, meditating, reading a book. Like, that's too much. It's too overwhelming. You're going to wake up and you're going to be like, nah, it's too much. I'm not doing that today. But start with certain habits and be true to yourself without any possible doubt. So like, and then what happens is when you do the things that you tell yourself you're going to do, you start to build a confidence that starts compounding on itself. So maybe it's, hey, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start, reading every day. Okay, well, after you do that for 3 months, 6 months, a year, now you start to believe in yourself. Hey, I can do the thing that I told myself I'm going to do. Now what happens is you start to develop an eye for opportunity because you believe in yourself to be able to do those things. Now you believe in yourself to do bigger things. So someone who's just starting, you need discipline. That's the first step. Yeah. And a lot of people lack discipline. And a lot of people are very distracted from any time to be proactive because of the world we live in with these devices that we're slaves to.
Yeah.
So, being aware and being disciplined, I think is what I would tell those kind of people.
Aware and disciplined. I'm finding myself guilty of being on TikTok.
Same. I deleted TikTok. It's too addicting.
Yeah, that's smart of you. So if there's one question you could ask a young adult to determine whether you think they have what it takes to be successful as an e-com entrepreneur, what would it be?
One question, let's see.
Because if you ask people, hey, are you willing to be disciplined? They'll always, oh, yeah. Are you willing to work hard? Oh, yeah, right? But how can you ask a question to be able to tell if they really have it?
I guess it's why? Like, why do you want it? What's your why? Okay. I think a lot of people think they know what they want because they see other people on social media and they're like, oh, that person must be happy because he has that really nice car or because he's able to travel all the time. And they're waiting to be happy until they get these things.
Right.
And that's not a real why. You're comparing yourself to other people's material items. So I would ask, what is your actual reason? Like, what do you have, a family that you're providing for, or do you want to have a family that you're providing for? Do you have maybe a mother that's getting old that you want to do something good for? Like, you need a strong reason why. Yeah. So I'd probably ask that first. If I asked a young kid, why do you want this? Hey, I want to drive a BMW. Like, all right, you're just like all the rest of them. You got to stand out. You have to have a strong reason.
Yeah. So what if their why isn't as strong as, family or their mother or wanting to help other people? What can you do to change that? Or do you just say, they're not a fit for the program?
Well, I think it's it comes down to your vision. And I think that oftentimes people will be in a low energy state. They'll be going through their normal cycle of life. They'll, wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, same cycle. And then you ask them, what do they want? And they don't actually know what they want because they haven't gotten themselves in, had enough solitude or alone time to figure it out. And, you might be in this low energy state and you're thinking about what you want, but it's not really, you're not feeling it. You're just imagining, you're just thinking, oh, I want that person's life or that car or this material item. But there's something to be said about scheduling time for yourself, going on a run. I'm really big into meditation, which I've mentioned a few times. And then when you're in that high energy state, when your endorphins are there, when your emotions are good, then picture your life and crystallize your life. And then that's where you can derive your why from. Because if you're in a low energy state, you can't really figure out what that why is. So I kind of flipped your question. I didn't exactly answer it, but I think that's probably the direction I would point someone in who is asking that.
I think that's a great answer. So someone in your position, Jared, what are you thinking about? What's your why now? Right? You've already made the money. You already have a platform that's growing. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, really, I want to be able to inspire other people. One of my, pretty personally, but on a daily basis, I go on a walk in the morning. I get up, I do my routine, I walk the dogs with my fiance, whatever. But then I'll go out by myself and, I have a playlist I listen to that gets me in a good mood. And I always visualize myself like on a college podium and like, cause I'm still proving all this stuff to myself, right? Like I'm still doing all this stuff to prove it to myself, but eventually I want to be able to share it with others. And I'm a firm believer that if you can visualize something and you can feel it and you can put yourself there, your life will lead you that way. So I always imagine myself on like a college podium and talking about how, your thoughts are based on your emotions. Your emotions create your thoughts create your actions. So it all starts with your emotions, right? And I imagine myself talking about this stuff and inspiring other people. And I also imagine myself on that podium and being like, I imagined this every single day for 20 years and it came true. So I've proven it to myself. So that's kind of a thought pattern I use on a regular basis to put myself in a place and feel that emotion that I get from being able to do the thing I want to do.
I can see that. I can see you giving it a real TED Talk and being the closing speaker in front of thousands of people, right? All giving advice to these young adults that are graduating or whatnot.
Yeah. And saying like, hey,
yeah,
I've proved this to myself. I'm here now. And let me share with you how I did it. And that's the thought pattern that I think gets my juices flowing and kind of gets my thoughts flowing for the day. I do that on a daily basis.
How would you measure what that success looks like? Let's say 10 years out.
Those are some good questions you're asking. So, one thing that, I would like to be in the position to do is help other people without needing other people's money to do so. So creating a business or a fortune of some sort that allows me to do good things for the world without having to ask others to donate towards it. That would define success. And then little things like having a family and being able to be present, like fully present and fully happy and in a state of gratitude on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That would define success for me. Being able to make it so my mom doesn't ever have to worry about anything or, have any negativity in her life would define success for me. So it depends on what level you're looking. Money's just an object. Most people focus only on money. And I think money's good. It makes it easier to be happy. But for me to define success, I'd like to be able to help others without the need of other people and just be fully present in my life.
What would you say was the hardest or most unexpected challenge in going from an e-com mogul yourself to building a platform that allows other people to succeed?
Well, big part was definitely building a team. When I was running my own dropshipping business, it was pretty easy. I had someone running my ads and that person had a simple rule, like if this, then that. If this ad does that, then do that. Really simple. And I had people in the Philippines running my customer support and order fulfillment. So I was communicating with a couple people at a time. Every once in a while, I'd have to give them motivation. I'd have to talk to them, keep them in the game. Now our team's about 25 people and there's a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of different egos that play. There's a lot of people that want to be treated certain ways that other people might not treat them in. So kind of keeping the energy balance between the team and finding really talented people and getting them invested, and getting them fully on board with what I'm doing. It's kind of the next level. And then also like managing money, like figuring out how much money to raise, how we're going to use it, and thinking long term. I used to think a week out. I want to make this much money this week, this much this month. But now I try to keep myself, actually, this is a really good one. I try to keep the 10-year vision in place or the 5-year vision in place. But then when little problems come up, it pulls you away from that vision. You're like, oh, everything's crashing and burning. Everything's, and that's a daily, battle, or not every day, but like oftentimes there'll be problems that will make me think everything's going to fail. And then I have to come to realize that, okay, that's just a problem to come over. Those are a few answers.
That's great. How's it feel knowing that thousands of other entrepreneurs are trusting their livelihood with your platform?
Yeah, it feels really good when people, if you look at like our reviews on Trustpilot or on the Shopify App Store, a lot of people have a really good experience with our team. So our team is there working really hard to serve people day and night. Drop shipping from China has its problems. Shipping products from China, sometimes they'll get caught in customs, or sometimes a factory will run out of stock.
Yeah.
And then that comes on us, even though we don't have control of it. So all we can do is communicate the best we could and be as fair as we could to people. So it's a lot of pressure. During COVID, when COVID first started, all the commercial airlines from China stopped flying. And that's how we were flying all of our products over, on commercial airlines. So
we're doing containers.
Well, no. So we ship everything direct to consumer on airlines. I used to do containers when I was bringing products in from China like 7 years ago. So we were promising, 7 to 12 day shipping for express shipping. And what was happening was less and less people were advertising on Facebook because there was no supply. So there's less competition on Facebook. So our sellers were selling more because it was cheaper to run ads. So we had a huge month. And then we got notified that nothing can get shipped out.
Oh, wow. What a disaster.
Well, we could ship it, but only via boat, and it was going to take 60 days. So even though it was totally out of our control, it definitely hurt all those businesses. So there's a lot of pressure having, people's livelihoods on our business, but, we work our hardest to be the best solution out there and serve people the best we could.
What challenges are you facing now?
Well, we've been working on our US supply platform. So we're a marketplace, right? If you have a product that you want to list on Zendrop, you can sign up, list your product on there, and then other people can sell it. So, working with new suppliers, getting their shipping times down, making sure that they're actually fulfilling orders, communicating with them regularly. That is definitely a challenge. We have over 100 suppliers on our waiting list right now.
Wow.
And we're not onboarding them fast because we don't want to onboard the wrong ones and then people have a bad experience. So we're being very hands-on with it. And then from a technical standpoint, as we're growing and integrating with other platforms, our tech is getting much more complex. So I'm not a tech person, so I don't know how to code. I don't know how to read code. I don't know how to see the quality of our code. So, getting the right people in there to make sure we're doing things right, that's also another challenge.
Yeah.
But there's always new challenges, regularly.
You're the growing CEO. What do you think the big challenge will be a few years from now for you?
Well, it depends on what direction we take. We are working on some stuff right now that I can't really talk about on a podcast. There's still some confidential deals and stuff on the table. So with that stuff, we'll be facing different challenges. But I think, as Amazon becomes a bigger market share, as there's more direct to consumer brands popping up that offer 1 to 2 day shipping, drop shipping from China is going to be more and more tough. So transitioning from having, 50% of our products in China to only a small percentage and having more products in the US, that's going to be a big challenge for us. Also because the products from China are typically those trending products that people can drop ship, and they're cheap. So they allow people to mark them up 3, 4, 5 times. The products from the US aren't necessarily as cheap. So kind of transitioning from China to the US is going to be a long-term challenge for us.
Do you see any sort of political economic challenges because of what's going on with the US and China now?
It's tough. I mean, they were working on different shipping policies and we've seen our shipping prices go up because of customs and duties and taxes and things like that. If we get into a political conversation, this whole conversation will definitely change path, but things with China right now are not necessarily good.
Yeah, or the backlash against China, or the keep it American argument that's happening.
Yeah, but it's we can't cut off China because they supply so much of our stuff here. So I don't think that we'll ever run into a problem where we can't do it anymore, but there might be other hurdles that come up.
Yeah. Have you anticipated or have a plan for what happens if there's a crash?
Like a crash in the market?
Yeah.
I think it's almost inevitable that there will be a crash in the market. Unless the government keeps artificially inflating things. And then, so I don't know what will happen with the e-commerce business per se. People will still be buying products online. Actually, there may be more products being sold from drop shippers because they're cheaper products, but I'm not sure how it'll affect drop shippers per se. There might be more and more companies that need to let people go because their share prices go down and their liquidity goes down. So there might be more people that want to get into creating their own business.
Yeah.
But I haven't put too much thought into that question actually before this.
I think that with a lot of the micro entrepreneurs that you're creating and we're helping create, that there's going to be a lot more taxes. And because of that and more friction, especially in the United States, because of our deficit and other things that are occurring, people are going to want to avoid paying taxes and maybe do things like crypto and other ways to be able to do transactions, which will be harder for the government to track.
Yeah. Crypto is extremely interesting too, because it cuts out all of the banking systems and it leaves, you could actually become your own bank with crypto.
When I saw Silk Road, I thought maybe there was a crypto or sort of like a black market thing to what you were doing.
That was a name hack at first. It was because Silk Road was no longer around. So I was like, oh, that'll be a recognizable name. But then we went to raise money and a lot of our investors were not so cool with that name. So we had to rebrand it.
Because of the stuff that Silk Road used to sell.
Yeah, they didn't want an association with that.
Yeah.
It was a good name hack, but it wasn't a good long-term brand for us.
So Jared, you're a super smart entrepreneur. You've interviewed other people. You've got your own podcast. What's a question that you wish people would ask you?
Well, a lot of people ask questions about technicalities and how do you do these things? And I think if more questions were geared towards the mindset, what's your inner world look like? What are your thought patterns? How do you keep yourself in a high energy state regularly? I think that would have more impact on people because external things don't change people's worlds necessarily. You have to operate at a higher frequency if you want your life to grow. So many people are operating at their low frequency and they're wanting these other things. And when you want something, you're simultaneously realizing that you don't have it. So you're operating at that frequency of lack as opposed to abundance.
Yeah.
So I wish people would ask more often, like, how do you operate in a state of abundance? How do you feel a certain way on a daily basis that cause your thought patterns to lead you down the path that you go down?
Wow. That is incredible. I want everyone to hear that. I want our video VAs to pull those little snippets out because I've interviewed a bunch of people. I was with John Assaraf in San Diego, Perry Marshall in Chicago for my birthday, and they're all saying the same things that you are saying, Jared. It's so funny because each of these guys are in completely different areas, yet they're all saying the same thing. So I want you guys to listen carefully to what Jared said. And all the stuff about drop shipping and taxes and setting up stores and optimizing Facebook ads and programming and what language it's in and all that. Those are all things that you can Google, all things you can hire other people to do. But I want you guys to listen carefully to what Jared has to say about how he keeps himself in the highest mindset. Awesome. What else, Jared?
I mean, our world's in a interesting place right now. There's a lot of opportunity to lose focus, and a lot of people are getting pats on the ass. Not for focusing on things that don't matter. So I think we really just need to shift our focus to things that matter as a society. It's being almost like, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I'll kind of a little bit. But, victimization is being glorified by our society.
Yeah.
And if you want to change your life, you can't be a victim. You have to be responsible for your life. But since it's being glorified, more and more people are being victims and they're blaming outside circumstances for their outcomes. And I think there's a lot of divide right now. But I also think the world's kind of being all bubbled up and churned up and there's a lot of disruption. But I think after the storm comes the calm. So I think we're kind of just going through something right now that will kind of settle itself in the next couple of years.
I think there's going to be a major struggle that's upcoming because people, they are getting the government checks or they're easy to scapegoat, to someone else. It's there to be mad about. And Ray Dalio, who wrote the book Principles, my favorite book, has talked about how there's this coming storm, this coming battle, because people feel the need to struggle. And so the lower energy thing. And I feel like do you think we kind of have approached idiocracy, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to say because one thing after it keeps getting crazier and crazier, one thing after another. And, the media is filled with fear, COVID is this, that, and the other thing. And I don't want to underplay that. I know a lot of people have lost their lives, but it's like, it pulls your attention away from growing. It pulls your attention away from this. And people are banding together and focusing on that, on racial issues, on gender issues, And okay, those things are important, but you can't only focus on the problems, because you're just going to attract more of those things into your life.
Yeah.
And it's being glorified.
Right. This is the best time ever to be an entrepreneur. And we need more people like you. The darker it is outside, the brighter folks like you shine.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Man, I've learned so much. I wish everyone would have the opportunity to be able to sit down with you, Jared, and pick the inside of your brain to understand how you think and how you grow, because it wasn't the tactical things. It was your mindset. It was how you approach things. It was how you were able to keep your energy level high. Where can people find you?
You can find me on social media on Instagram, Jared Goetz. That's kind of where I'm not super active, but as of recently, I've been a little bit more active. You can find me on there. I have YouTube videos, my podcast, The Modern Soul. We're actually rebranding it and launching it again in November. It's going to be called Modern Masters. So we got a bunch of really cool episodes coming up with, really interesting people that have achieved a lot. And I dive deep into their mindset and kind of the way that they think, because I think it's important to pave the way.
That's incredible. I saw some of the names of these A-list celebrities that are on your podcast. So that is fantastic. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jared Goetz, go follow him. So glad you spent time with us. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.